I'm Rachel Smith, and this is Equal Entertainment. Well, it's official. Barbie is a billion-dollar hit. The Greta Gerwig directed film passed the nine-figure mark in just 3 weeks. The movie has now made $1.3 billion worldwide. Now, only 50 films have ever topped the $1 billion mark. It's also made history, as Greta Gerwig is now the first female director to have a billion-dollar movie. Barbie remains #1 in theaters across the country, bringing in an additional $53 million just this past weekend. Well, meantime, in Hollywood, there is still no deal as the standoff between the writers' union and the studios continues after a meeting between the two sides ended with no agreement. Now, the two sides did meet on Friday for the first time in nearly 3 months. And there were signs of optimism about a potential deal. The Writers Guild represents more than 11,000 writers who have now been on strike since May. Last month, the Screen Actors Guild also went on strike. Actor Jamie Foxx is apologizing for a social media post some say was anti-Semitic. The since-deleted Instagram post said, quote, "They killed this dude named Jesus. What do you think they'll do to you?" End quote. He ended the post with the hashtags fake friends and fake love. Foxx then apologized to the Jewish community for his choice of words. He went on to say he knows what he said caused offense and he is sorry. The actor explained the post was in reference to being betrayed recently by what he called a fake friend. Well, the strikes in Hollywood have brought most major productions to a halt. Theater veteran Danny Feldman is the artistic director of the Pasadena Playhouse in Southern California. And he spoke with our Advocate Channel's Tracy E. Gilchrist about the importance of the stage.
Would you share a little bit of background for people who are unfamiliar with Pasadena Playhouse? A little bit of background about the story of venue.
So Pasadena Playhouse is one of the oldest regional theaters in America. Was founded actually in 1917 when a group of citizens in a new little town called Pasadena got together and said, you know, a great community needs a great cultural institution, needs a great theater. And the Pasadena Playhouse was born. It started in a burlesque house. Speaking of burlesque, it started just sort of bouncing around and very soon became the talk of the town, really because it was a community-centric theater. There was not really a distinction between amateur and professional theater at the time in 1917. So it really became the whole community would be involved in every show, making the costumes, the sets, starring in it. And within just a few short years, they raised the money from the community and built the beautiful historic building that we're in today, which is turning 100 years old in 2 years, which is unbelievable.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, also, the Pasadena Playhouse was the recipient of the 2023 Tony Award for Best Regional Theater.
That's right.
Congratulations. That's incredible.
Thank
you. And that also comes with a sizable grant. Would you talk about the honor of winning that Tony Award and how you plan to use some of that grant?
Yeah, it was. So it's very meaningful. You know, the Playhouse has been around for over 100 years, and we've had a lot of ups and downs. We were dark from the late 60s all the way through the 80s. The building was in danger of being torn down, and members of the community almost literally put themselves in front of wrecking balls to save it. And we've had just a lot of starts and stops throughout the years. But it was so winning this great honor really was putting a spotlight on us in a new way. And really, the award is for the vibrancy and the innovation of the work on stage. And so what we're hoping is it really tells the world and tells the country what a lot of our closest friends and family know, that we're doing Broadway caliber, Tony Award winning, dare I say, work on our stage. And we hope that more and more people in the greater LA community and beyond start coming more and seeing us more, because regional theaters are going through a bit of a moment right now all over the country. So to your question about the grant, it came with a $25,000 grant from City National Bank, which is amazing. Which is going to just help us continue the work we're doing. We are a roughly $10 million organization. When we do big shows like our big Sondheim celebration that we just did, all of those shows are budgeted to lose money. Regional theater, we're a 600-seat theater working with the top artists and theater makers of our time. It costs a lot more than the audience ticket sales cover. So we're always looking for support to help us keep growing and doing more ambitious work. So the money will be going towards that and our community work.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for that. And you touched on the Sondheim celebration, which he died. It's almost 2 years ago now. So Stephen Sondheim is very much on people's minds, and of course, a towering figure in American musical theater around the world. He's also a towering gay figure in theater, and at this time, of course, there are so many anti-LGBTQ plus bills and art programs with artists being shut down in states. And I wonder, would you talk about the kind of radical nature of celebrating, not just performing theater in general, but also celebrating a towering figure who also happened to be gay?
Yeah, I think I'll come at that from my own unique perspective, which is I have always been fond of Sondheim's work and his artistry, and also understanding where that work came from. And I studied him a lot, his life and his isolation and feeling isolated, and how he poured himself into the work. And I deeply resonated with it as a gay artistic director of a major institution. And so we felt that the best thing to do, and we started planning this before he passed away, actually. And to many people, Sondheim now is a sure bet in sales, or it's commercial. But what people forget is most of his musicals during his lifetime were financial failures. That he was criticized as being too avant-garde, too left of center, too artsy. It's only in his later chapter of his life, and now in his death, that he is seen as sort of mainstreamed musical theater. But what was important to us was to give people who love Sondheim the chance to really engage with his work after his death, to give them a chance to mourn and grieve through the work. But equally as important was to introduce that work to new folks. Mm-hmm. And that's really what we did, from high school students and college. This was a massive community effort. Over 50,000 people came, and hundreds of artists participated, from gay icon Bernadette Peters all the way down to high school students. It was really a community effort about celebrating one person's work and existence and his impact on our lives, and telling his story and honoring him in the way that was uniquely Pasadena Playhouse and uniquely the Los Angeles community.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for that. And would you talk about just the act of going to the theater in general, of taking in art as a community, and the kind of importance that carries?
Yeah. For me, why I do theater, why theater is for me, is ultimately my own life mission and my own sense of purpose, which is bringing people together. And I think that when you really zoom back and look at some of the real systemic problems that our country is facing, you mentioned anti-LGBTQ bills and just, I don't want to go into all the negative that is going on in our country now, but I think an underlying reason or issue with this is just how separate we are, how disparate we are, and how we have a very strong lack of ability in this unique moment of coming together around big issues, around all of the arguments and the discourse politically and socially and all of that is so dumbed down that we can't have nuanced conversations because people don't come together. Theater is the antidote to that, in my humble view. Theater brings complete strangers together in a darkened room, and they play make-believe together, if you really think about how silly it is, right?
Well, fans in Ireland are paying tribute to Sinead OConnor ahead of her funeral. Take a look at this. It is a giant hillside sign on Ireland's Bray Head. It overlooks the town, County Wicklow, where O'Connor's funeral is taking place. The sign reads, "Éire loves Sinead." Éire is Gaelic for Ireland. O'Connor lived in County Wicklow for 15 years and will be buried in a private ceremony. Well, thank you so much for being with us today for Equal Entertainment. You can watch Advocate Channel live by downloading our app in the Apple or Google Play Store. You can also subscribe to our YouTube page. For the Advocate Channel, I'm Rachel Smith. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.